Hey parents, as moms and dads, we all want what's best for our children, and we want to treat them with the love and respect that they deserve. But sometimes, when we're frustrated, we might find ourselves raising our voices or even yelling at them. It can happen to the best of us. But while yelling might sometimes seem like the only option we have in the heat of the moment, it never is, and it never solves any problems. In fact, it usually makes them worse for you, for your child, and for your relationship. In this video, I'm going to explain to you the 3 main factors that contribute to parents yelling at their kids, and the 3 things you can do starting today that will help you find alternatives to yelling that are relationship friendly, feel a lot better, and actually work in a way that yelling never does. My name is Todd Sarner, and I'm a psychotherapist and parenting coach. My mission is to provide parents like you with the education and resources you need to have the family life that you've always wanted and to raise children that thrive. It's very important that we understand what some of the unconscious factors are that contribute to why parents can sometimes find themselves yelling at their kids. That's why parenting tips alone tend not to work. If there are unconscious elements at play in a situation, you can get all the tips in the world, but you might still unconsciously default into negative behaviors like yelling. I have seen thousands of parents in my practice over about 2 decades, and I've been able to identify 3 main reasons why parents get into the habit of yelling at their children. Reason number 1. You're taking your child's behavior personally. The most common reason I see in my practice for why parents yell at their kids is that they're taking their kids' behavior personally. When kids don't listen, or they won't cooperate, or they talk back to their parents or say mean things, parents often take this personally, including seeing the behavior as disrespectful. This just isn't usually the truth of what's actually going on. Like you'll hear me say a lot in my videos, most behavior in children is a perfectly logical outcome based on their age and their sensitivity and what's going on around them. And most negative behavior in children is based on instinct. It's not conscious and it's not intentional. When we assume our kids are being disrespectful or intentional in their behavior, we're just more likely to feel justified in being antagonistic towards them, including yelling. And if we take this antagonistic approach with our kids, we can't really hope to find any kind of solution, and the situation is likely to just keep repeating. Reason number 2, you have built up frustration yourself. Another one of the top reasons that I've observed why parents yell at their children is that the parents themselves have a lot of frustration built up, and that this leads to them not having a lot of tolerance or capacity for their kids' behavior. If you've had a great day and you're feeling really good and your child acts up in a difficult way, you might not handle it that badly. But on the other hand, if you had a really bad day and you were just feeling lousy, the chances are that you'd respond to your child in a less than positive way, including maybe yelling. The difference here has nothing to do with your child. It has to do with you and your frustration. So it makes sense to proactively deal with that frustration so it doesn't come out in your reaction to your kids. Reason number 3, you're picking up on your child's frustration and nervous system. The third most common reason I find to be behind parents yelling at their kids is something that not a lot of people are aware of, but that is important to know about as a parent. As a psychotherapist, I was trained to understand the importance of what's called countertransference. In a nutshell, this refers to what's happening when a therapist is unconsciously picking up on the feelings of their clients and accidentally identifying them as their own. What this means is if I have a client today who's feeling really angry but maybe trying not to show it, I might still detect these feelings and even start to feel angry myself without knowing why. When you are very close to someone like your children or the person you're married to, the chances of you doing this, of kind of picking up their feelings and unconsciously taking them on, is actually quite common. So if your child is really full of frustration, or their nervous system is out of whack, they're dysregulated, overtired, or they're having fight or flight feelings in themselves, sometimes you might be yelling at your kids because you're taking on their feelings without even knowing it. If you understand this, it increases your ability to be less reactive with your children, and maybe even to see what you're feeling as an indicator of what your child might be feeling or experiencing. Knowing what's really happening is critical if you want to do something about it. Now that I've shared with you these 3 main reasons why parents yell at their children, I want to share with you my 3 main tips, my top strategies that will help you lessen the yelling and, in fact, have the power to stop it for good. Stop yelling tip number 1. Educate yourself. One of the very best things you can do to become less reactive, including taking things personally and yelling at your child, is to educate yourself on child behavior and development as much as you practically can. There is almost always a reason for your children's behavior that makes total sense. It's usually something happening inside of them or around them that's not their fault. And most difficult behavior is because your child simply doesn't know what to do with those things when they're happening. For example, before a child is 5 to 7 years old, they don't have a functioning prefrontal cortex, which means, among other things, that they can't attach to more than one person or thing at once. This can mean that sometimes they're going to look like they're ignoring you, and other times they're going to get very locked in on things. If you don't know this, you might get upset thinking they're ignoring you on purpose or that they're being irrational for no reason, making it more likely that you're going to react. Another example of this, of a child development fact that's important to know, is one that I cover in my How to Get Children to Listen video that I'll link below. And that is that children are wired to not listen to those that they're not attached to in the moment. It's an important instinct designed to keep them safe. If you don't make sure you take the time to connect with your child before telling them what to do, the chances are that because of this instinct, they will defy you. And if you take this defiance as disrespect of you, you're probably going to get upset. If you understand what's really happening, you're less likely to do so. I have found over the years that all parents need sometimes in order to not take things personally and yell is to have what I call a pause point. Just a time, a moment where you pause and you consider alternatives to what's going on and what you might do about it. Educating yourself on child development and behavior can help you to create these pause points. Speaking of educating yourself, all of the content on this channel is designed to educate and empower parents like you so you can spend less time reacting to your children and more time supporting them into their fullest potential. Liking this video if it's helpful to you and subscribing to our channel helps us a lot, and it helps you get the highest quality tailored content to your feed. Stop yelling tip number 2, tend to your frustration. Unfortunately, frustration is just part of life. There is no way to avoid it. But like I've mentioned before, frustration has a way of building up inside of us, and if we don't do something about it, it's gonna blow up at some point, and that might include yelling at your children. When I talk about limit setting for kids in other videos, I mentioned that setting limits in the right way is how we help our children feel their difficult feelings inside, including frustration, so that they can process through them and get them out. Usually that involves crying. For adults, there are 4 things I'll mention quickly here that I really strongly recommend that you can try out to get your frustration out so it doesn't spill out with your kids. How parents can get out their frustration. It's important that you have people in your life that you can be vulnerable with and talk through difficult things with, whether it's your spouse or a friend or a family member or a therapist. It's important to get problems out and process them before they build up too much. Make a habit of getting together regularly with somebody you trust to talk things out with. Notice if you feel better afterwards, like you were able to get things off your chest and that they really heard you, and do the same for them. Try to avoid doing this with people who just inflame things or gossip, or who just don't appear to get what you're saying. Another very effective strategy for dealing with frustration so that you don't erupt in anger is to make a regular practice of journaling your thoughts and your feelings. It's important here that you don't use a computer. You use a pen or pencil and some blank paper, and that you don't edit what's on your mind at all. Get it all out. Just write down everything that is frustrating you or annoying you without holding back at all, especially the things that are triggering you about your children. When you're done, just shred the pages or destroy them in some other kind of safe way. Things are going to come spilling out of you that you don't really mean, but they're going to be in there until you get them out. And once you do, I think you're going to find that you feel much better. This one's really simple, I'll just say it quickly, but getting regular exercise, such as walking, running, cardio, swimming, whatever works for you, can be directly related to the reduction of frustration, but it has to be a regular habit that you prioritize. Is there a song that you know that always makes you cry? Or maybe it's a movie. I know I have a short list of songs and movies that always make me really emotional, always make me sad, and always help me to cry. Like I referred to before, crying is the body's natural mechanism that's built into us to help us feel and process our feelings and move through them so that we feel better. That's why people say all the time when they have a good cry that they feel more peaceful, that they solve problems better. That's why I recommend to you that if you're considering strategies for yourself for how to get the frustration and difficult feelings out of you, that you consider that having a good cry is one of the best things that you can do. Tip number 3, calm your nervous system. The last tip I have for you today that will help you stop yelling at your kids is to create daily rituals that help you calm your nervous system and to make this a priority. The autonomic nervous system in all of us is designed to keep us alive by helping us to detect threats in our environment and respond to them quickly for survival. Unfortunately, when we're tired or burnt out or hungry or scared, these instincts can come to the surface and show up in situations where they're not appropriate, like when we're dealing with our children. This can be part of why we get triggered and lose our cool, including raising our voice or yelling at our kids. And once our nervous system is triggered, it's hard not to behave in automatic or reactive ways. So it only makes sense that our strategies for this should be based in proactively calming and soothing our nervous system so that we don't get triggered in the first place. Here are the top strategies I have seen be effective in helping parents regulate their nervous system. Getting out in nature, such as taking walks and hikes. Having a regular meditation or yoga practice. Breathing exercises, such as 4-7-8 breathing. 4-7-8 breathing is one of the easiest and most effective regulation strategies out there. You breathe in deeply through your nose to the count of 4. Make sure you're breathing into your stomach, not your chest. You fill it up like a balloon. Then you hold your breath to the count of 7. Then you slowly release your breath out of your mouth to the count of 8. Doing this breathing once or twice a day for 10 minutes or more if you can is an excellent and no-cost way to help support your nervous system. That's our video for today. I'll be doing a lot of other videos on this topic because I know it's one of the top things parents ask me about, but I hope this one informed you and inspired you to take on some new habits that will help you to be less reactive and to stop yelling. Please check the description below for links to videos that I referred to today, as well as others that will support you in the journey to being the parent you want to be. As always, I will end the video today with one of my favorite parenting quotes that's related to our topic. Today's is by Laura Markham, who said, "When kids are scared, they go into fight or flight. The learning centers of the brain shut down. Your child can't learn when you yell. It's always more effective to intervene calmly and compassionately. Besides, when you yell, you lose credibility with your child. Kids become less open to your influence." It's really true. Thanks again for being here. Be sure to leave comments and questions below, as well as any ideas you have for a future video.